Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, The Critical Role of Annual Cybersecurity Assessments. I can see quite a few people joining now, so thank you very much for taking your time to join us this morning. With that said, I will hand over to Andrew, who's going to be our presenter today.
Thank you, Kate. Hi, thank you all for joining. My name's Andrew Dancy. I'm a pre-sales engineer and solutions architect here at Softworks. One of my jobs is to run cybersecurity assessments for our customer. So today I would like to introduce cybersecurity assessments to you, how we perform them, the process, what impact they can have on your cybersecurity journey. So with that said, let's get started. So what is the cybersecurity assessment? So the aim of the cybersecurity assessment is to give you a snapshot of how secure your organisation is, how well your current measures are working. It's really useful as a one-off exercise, just to get that confirmation of where you are and how well you're doing, but also it's very useful as an ongoing assessment to review the progress towards your cybersecurity goals. With the assessment, you'll get a clear overview of where you stand and practical recommendations, actionable steps. We'll give you short-term and long-term steps that you can take, and you can actually put these into action. We try to write the reports and presentation in plain language because we want to engage with the full business, not just the IT teams. It's important that the wider business stakeholders are engaged within the cybersecurity journey, because you need to make those smart decisions together about where to invest in security and how to keep improving your cyber resilience. The assessment is fundamentally employs two techniques. We run an automated scan in either your hybrid or your cloud environment, and we use what we call the CSAT tool to run that scan. The CSAT tool will scan a selection of computers and servers, desktops and laptops, predominantly Windows-based. We also look at local Active Directory if you've still got on-premise AD servers. We'll look at your email DNS records, Microsoft 365 environment, and your Azure environment. So that's an automated scan. But the second part of the assessment, which is just as critical, takes the form of a questionnaire. The questionnaire is based around 18 CIS controls. So CIS, if you're not aware, is the Centre for Internet Security Controls. Go and have a look at the CIS website. There's an absolute mountain of information there that's very useful, and a lot of free resources that would be useful to you. So a consultant will work through this questionnaire with you. A lot of our customers prefer to take questionnaire away, run through it themselves, and then come back to the consultant for clarification on particular points. But we'll work with you to make sure that you complete that questionnaire correctly. So assessment types, one size doesn't fit all. So we do have two assessment types. We have a full scan and a quick scan. The full scan is nominally aimed at enterprise corporate type environments, plus 300 employees, but also SMBs that have more focus on security. They've already started employing a lot of security controls, and they just want to go that extra step further. Or maybe you're in a business where you need to have those critical controls in place because of some compliance reason. The quick scan is more aimed at the smaller sub 300 employee customer. However, you know, as I said, that's doesn't take into account where you are on your cybersecurity journey and how well you're already configured. So hopefully you can see from the slide, in both the quick scan and the full scan, we are looking at CIS controls, as I mentioned in the previous slide, and within the CIS controls, implementation groups, which we'll discuss a bit later. The full scan takes the full CIS framework with implementation groups 1, 2, and 3, so it's quite a comprehensive process. The quick scan just takes a subset of that. You'll hear the term essential cyber hygiene or basic cyber hygiene. This is sort of the baseline that you should put in place to ensure that you've got satisfactory controls. So I think it's worth just talking a bit about CIS because it is fundamental to the whole process. It's a key component of the process. So CIS is a community-driven non-profit. It's responsible for CIS controls, CIS benchmarks, CIS hardened images. So within Azure, you'll see CIS hardened images. You can download CIS benchmarks for a huge amount of services from the CIS website. They're globally recognised as providing best practice for securing IT systems and data. So you will see, if you go into Secure Score in Microsoft, you will see in some of the recommendations at the bottom, they will reference CIS. So Microsoft does actually refer back to CIS to build its own security. It's by no means the only framework that Microsoft use, but they do use it themselves. So the 18 CIS controls, this is referring to the full scan, each require you to perform particular actions. We try and the point of this is to try and simplify the approach to give you a guidance of steps you need to take to put in a structure that you can follow. Let's talk a bit about the controls and implementation groups. So hopefully you'll recall in the basic scan we were talking about the quick scan, sorry, implementation group 1. You can see here that the implementation group 1 is broken down into 56 safeguards across the controls. Implementation group 2 builds on that with another 74 safeguards. And then for the full scan, we're looking at implementation group 3, which will include implementation group 2 and 1. Implementation group 3 addresses more sophisticated threats, provides a higher level of protection. One of the things to bear in mind, I think, when the discussions had about the quick scan and the full scan, is that you may think that, well, yeah, we would like the full scan, but if you haven't got a level of cybersecurity controls in place already, the full scan can become a bit overwhelming in that the amount of recommendations that you're given will be quite extensive. So it may be worth thinking about that step of doing the quick scan first, finding the recommendations, implementing them, and then maybe going to a full scan 6 months, 12 months down the line. One of the great things about CIS is the mapping that it gives you to other regulations. So a lot of our customers now are interested in NIS2. NIS2, the EU directive for improving digital resilience, and NIS2 places a duty of care on organisations to map out their security status and develop an improvement plan. NIS2 uses a dozen or so what it calls measures. We can map CIS controls directly to NIS2 measures. So with the report, if you are interested in NIS2, then we can tailor that report and map against the NIS2 measures for you. I discussed the CSAT tool briefly. Let's dig into that a bit more. So CIS tool is an application, so it sits on a server. And with the tool, we will be scanning endpoints, Office 365, SharePoint, Teams, Intune, Active Directory, if you've got on-premise AD presence, Azure AD, your Azure tenant services, and we'll import the questionnaire into that tool as well, and that will form the basis of the reports and the presentation. The CSAT tool installation and scan requirements are quite straightforward. Hopefully you can see from the graphic there. We just need a Windows server, 4 CPUs, 16 gig of memory and hard disk. However, our preferred method, and actually every scan that I've performed recently has been using a Microsoft Marketplace image. So that's a very quick deployment into Azure. We also need administrative access, so that's to deploy enterprise app into the Azure environment. So we need a global admin, and we also need access to Microsoft Cloud APIs. So we need to remove proxy server from that connection, and also potentially you will have endpoint security software that may affect the scanning tool, so we may need to whitelist it. So the steps, we've got 3 steps in the cybersecurity assessment, and I'll just discuss some ballpark figures of how much time you need to invest in this. They're not hard and fast, but it'll give you an idea. So step 1 is we'll set up a kickoff call. We'll make introductions, introduce ourselves, and clarify the assessment goals. And hopefully during that stage we can prepare the environment as well. We can set up an extra call to do that if you didn't want to do it at that kickoff call. So that whole first step will probably take about 2 hours. Usually actually it takes a lot less than that, probably an hour or so, but we say about 2 hours for that step. Second phase is the collection and analysis of the data, including the questionnaire. We put a nominal time of sort of 8 hours on this. However, that is mostly the consultative time of the software engineer that's performing the scan. The implication on your input there is with the questionnaire, and again we're happy to provide as much help as you need to fill that questionnaire out. However, the nature of the questionnaire is such that we can't answer it for you because it's about your environment, which obviously we need to have your involvement to dig into. And finally, the presentation stage. It's usually about an hour to an hour and a half. We can either come to site and present, or we can present over Teams. That's up to you. We'll deliver the findings, discuss conclusions, share a detailed report, and we'll also provide you with a roadmap for improvement. So what we're aiming to do with this stage is to give you a structured approach using that assessment to give you a way forward and a roadmap to improve your cyber resilience. Just quickly talk about what you will get out of this. So critical benefits of conducting a cybersecurity assessment. So we're trying to enable you to make informed and targeted investments. And this, when I say investments, not necessarily financial, potentially just an amount of time that you need to address some of the vulnerabilities that we're going to expose. we want to optimize the resources that you've already got, avoid unnecessary spending. So what I mean by that is we'll see in a slide later that we give you recommended software. Quite usually you already have the licensing for that software. It's just underutilized. You may not understand or appreciate that the abilities of that's within that licensing, for instance, in Tune, we often see, or it may be just that you haven't had the time and don't appreciate the criticality of implementing some of those settings. Secondly, we want to foster alignment between the IT and security teams and the business management. As I discussed earlier, it's important that when we talk about cyber resilience, that the whole business is engaged in that to support overall business goals and compliance requirements, for instance. Lastly, we want to expose the vulnerabilities to provide a comprehensive understanding of your current security posture, allow you to monitor and address the weak points effectively. So that's an overall summary of our aims. What will we deliver? So we'll deliver a maturity model. What is a maturity model? Well, the maturity model comes out of the CIS framework. You get a score between 1 and 4 between all of those 18 controls, and it helps you target exactly where to focus your efforts. We'll also present security findings, tailored recommendations based on the analysis. Technical data will highlight the potential vulnerabilities, and again, those scans and the information that comes out of those technical scans will help you prioritize and focus your efforts. We identify or prioritize them into urgent actions and quick wins. Again, helping you develop a roadmap to be more efficient in improving your security. We'll also present an overview of recommended software solutions. Predominantly, that's going to be Microsoft. And again, it's not necessarily that you need to invest in more Microsoft or more licensing. It's maybe just the utilization of what you've already got. Okay, so let's just have a quick look at the maturity score that I've been talking about. So the maturity score, as you can see there, I mentioned that we break this down into the 18 groups, plus some additional questions are outside the CIS framework, 19 and 20. And we have a score of 1 to 4, with 4 being excellent, 1 being needs improvement. But importantly, that is backed up by the data that we extract with the scans, so that we can comprehensively join up the data that we see coming out of the environment with your understanding of where you are on that scale. So hopefully that's given you a good overview of what the assessment is. What I'd like to do is just take you through visually through the tool and the presentation and the reports just quickly, just to show you what you'll get in reality. So usually you won't be looking at the you won't have access to the tool, but it's useful to show you, just to show you exactly what we're getting out of it. So this is the application that will run on the virtual machine that we were talking about earlier. In the analysis section, we can see the data that's gathered for the endpoints. So you can see we've got accounts, browser history. Now this is an optional scan. We do have some customers that are concerned about privacy. So if you didn't want this run, then that's fine. We don't have to return browser history. However, I would say that it is a very useful scan, and additionally, you should have user agreements in place anyway that informs the users that you are going to that you may from time to time scan their machines for security purposes. So you know, if you have those privacy concerns, that should be covered with the computer usage agreement. So if we just have a quick look at some of the things that we have here. So torrent, you see we've got a threat that says contains keyword torrent. This flag here, this is what the consultant will flag themselves using the threat as a guidance. We can see down here, I would personally be looking at sort of Gemini, Claude AI, Dropbox WeTransfer for some shadow IT as well. So we've got an endpoints overview here. We're missing latest updates on these machines. You can see if we drill in, there's a huge amount of data that comes back from scanning that machine. Look at firewall status. Just a massive amount of data that we pull back so that we can get a really comprehensive view of what's going on those machines. Let's have a look at on premise, so at AD, so look at AD accounts. So this is all an LDAP scan, so we do need line of sight to AD to be able to perform the AD scan. The cloud scan, you can see we've got Azure, massive amount of data. We're looking at Entra ID accounts, authentication methods, external users, Sentinel, network security. So you can see there's an NSG here that's got an any on all ports. So a massive amount of data there. Spoke about email, DNS. You can see we've flagged up a we'd flag up a domain here because we haven't got DKIM. And then, of course, as in tune, look at compliance policies, detected apps, and so on. Microsoft 365 settings, and of course, SharePoint, including OneDrive. Again, that's optional. You may have privacy concerns. We don't have to scan OneDrive if you don't want to. One of the really nice things about SharePoint is the PII data that we can see here. So we take, if we look at credit cards here, so the PII scan is a keyword scan, basically. So here we're scanning, we can see there's a document, credit cards, docs, got bank account, account number, credit card, MasterCard, Visa. So, you know, that's a good one. I usually look for password because I can guarantee you that you'll probably somewhere have someone who's got password.xls. You can see here password document.docs, password, username and secret. So this is really important because this is one of the things that is just really obscured in our environments. We don't know what data's out there, what we're holding on SharePoint. This is a really useful, and its intention isn't to target individuals. So we wouldn't want to be going and targeting this individual. We don't even expose that who it actually is. The point is to give you the knowledge of what's on your environment and suggest the controls that you can put in place to make sure that doesn't either isn't on your environment or can't leave your environment. And then, of course, we ingest the questionnaire as well. So I'll just pick a question. So let's pick this one just to give you an idea of what sort of things you'll be asked about. So how does the organisation address device and session locking when the device or session is left unattended or not in use? And it gives you a little explanation, gives you the reasons to select basic, standardized, rationalized, or dynamic. So it does guide you through these answers. And of course, as I said, consultant will be on hand to help you with any questions that you need more advice on. So that is the tool. What do you get out of it? So we'll just have a look quickly at presentation, and I'll just whiz through this. I don't want to keep you hanging on this webinar any longer than you need to. So we'll obviously run through an introduction and the assessment approach and how we've performed the assessment, and then we'll go into an executive summary. So we'll give you major risks, what we think your risks are, the level of your maturity score. Ideally, with a maturity score, we're looking at maturity score of around 3. It's quite difficult to get to 4. It takes a lot of investment in time, energy, and money to get to 4. But you know, that's the gold standard. And then we'll discuss a bit about Copilot. Again, this is an optional part of the presentation that we'll discuss during the kickoff call, whether you want to include Copilot or not in the presentation. And we'll just go a bit through how you need to put a foundation in place before you start rolling Copilot out into the environment. And one of the nice slides here is we'll give you a breakdown in a traffic light type scoring system of what controls you have in place to secure Copilot and what licensing you need to to have the ability to put those controls in place as well. So that's quite a nice deck if you're interested in Copilot. So as I discussed, we'll give you a plan of approach. So the quick wins, there's 0 to 30 days, the so-called low-hanging fruit. The important controls to put in place, but maybe need a bit more planning, 30 to 90 days, and then the 90 days plus, which is probably the more involved projects that you may need funding for, you may need to pilot and roll out in a more controlled sort of way. Mentioned top-of-eyes software. Again, Microsoft Intune is often at the top of the top-of-eyes software, and that's purely because we've got the licensing, just not using it. And similar, Defender for Endpoint and so on. So we'll then move on to the findings. So we'll look at the CIS questionnaire controls, look at the lowest ranked question answers there, and give you a recommendation of how to address those to improve that maturity score. And then we'll look at the scan findings. With the scan findings, we'll show you the findings, the associated risks, and also the recommendations of how to tackle those risks. And then finally, we'll look at some next steps. So that presentation, as I said, that's aimed at business. So we'd hope that it wouldn't not only be the IT department that's involved in that, but also stakeholders from the wider business. However, we also provide you with a CSAT report. This is a lot more technical, and this is really aimed at the IT department. It's just navigation up. So you can see this particular report it's not counting up. I guarantee you it's about 50 or 60 pages. We break down an executive summary, break down the CIS controls. We provide urgent actions, refer again to NIS2 principles here, and give you some advised products and some advice on those controls. So we've got the urgent ones that we highlight there, and also the high controls that need addressing, high scoring controls. Then we'll address the technical scans. Just take a quick look into there. So we'll address the scans, refer to the CIS controls, provide you the information, and then give you some conclusions and recommendations of how to address the findings there. So that, in a nutshell, is the cybersecurity assessment that we perform. If you are interested in more information about cybersecurity assessment, then check out our website to request a demo of cybersecurity assessment or download a copy. I think this link is going to be provided in the chat. If you're a current customer of ours, then reach out to either myself or your account manager, and we can start that discussion. So with that, I'd like to invite you to post any questions you have. If you're on a timeline here, then by all means reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions offline. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I think we have a couple of questions that have been put into the chat. So the first one is, do you undertake any assessments with mapping against NCSC CAF aligned to NHS DSPT?
No, but CIS itself does have that mapping, I'm pretty sure. So if that particular attendee wants to go to the CIS controls and have a look up the mapping, you'll see what the CIS mapping is to those controls. Yeah.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And the other question that has been asked is whether Softworks are on the NCSC Assured Service Providers list.
I would have to come back. I haven't got that information. Kate would need to talk to Adrian, I think, about that and get an answer back offline. Okay,
no problem. Does anyone have any other questions? I can't see any coming through just yet. Okay, in that case, thank you everyone for joining. Have a good rest of your day, and we will see you very soon. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Thank you.